Hey folks, it's September 11th and I wanted to show you my beautiful greenhouse and green stalks and what's going on in them. But take a brief second to pause and to remember those who lost their lives in 2001 due to the horrific terrorist attacks. So heart goes out to those families and to the firefighters. God bless you. Now it's interesting. I was looking at a video from last year, same time, and my green stocks are not doing that great. So something has changed this year. Either I've gotten to be a better gardener or learned to use the green stocks a little bit better. The weather's been a little bit different, but they are doing absolutely crazy, nuts, beautiful. So let's flip the camera around and show you the green stocks one by one. Okay, let's start with this green stalk. I'm growing so many things in here and I'm using the tuck it in and let's see what happens method this year, and that's why they all look kind of crazy, but everything is growing great. I always say everything grows better in my green stalk, and for good reason. So ton of parsley growing here. This is a jigsaw pepper and it's probably one of the prettiest pepper plants I've grown. Look at the variegation in the leaves, the beautiful purple blossoms, and the absolutely gorgeous purple peppers. Now these turn red when they are fully ripe, and this is a really spicy pepper, so I grow it mostly for pepper flakes, but very tasty and very, very pretty pepper. I've got some bean plants that I started from seed not too long ago, and also some eggplants that I transplanted not too long ago. I've got some orange mint. If you haven't grown orange mint, try to get your hands on a cutting or two, because this thing grows really well. It's not crazy like most mints taking over your garden, but it smells delectable and wonderful in teas. Marigolds, and what I did want to show you was this, I think this is called an ITACHI F1 cucumber. It's a lovely cucumber, grows nice and long, as you can see. It's a white cucumber, and the most interesting thing about it is absolutely no bitterness. So this is a hybrid, so you can't really save seeds, but grows very quickly, and it's also a fairly productive variety. I believe it's parthenocarpic, so it doesn't require the male-female pollination thing. So yeah, almost every node has a cucumber forming on it. So just a variety that you might want to consider, the ITACHI F1 cucumber. I got it from Johnny's Seeds. I've got some green onions growing here. These are Egyptian walking onions, and I've noticed black aphids. So I'm going to have to come and take care of this problem. This is the time of year when the weather is starting to cool off a little bit that the aphids come in full force. So got to stay on top of that, otherwise they will take over and kill your plants. This is catnip. This is another thing that I need to watch out for because it grows very, very aggressively. I thought I removed it all from my green stalk last year, but clearly I left a piece in and it's come back. So I'm going to have to keep that in trim. And I've got some kind of squash. I don't know what it is, but it's some kind of pretty double squash that's growing here. And I noticed that it's got another double squash growing on the other side here as well. So this does not look like an anomaly. Maybe this is what the squash is like. So if you know what variety this is, or maybe I've got a label here. Let me see if I can dig it out and see what this is. Mini pumpkin. Well, that's not it. I think that's some kind of a scallop squash variety. Another thing that I do in my tuck and let's see what happens method is I tuck in a seedling or two that will take over once the older plant dies off. So in this case, this is a cucumber. What I would do is I'd come and tuck in some kind of brassica or cool weather plant, maybe a lettuce. Then once this is done, that one will start to grow and grow quite quickly, and I would not have wasted any time between plants when the pocket was empty. So that's just a little tip for you to keep your green stalks always full, is to always have a new generation of plants coming as the older ones start to die off. I love these little tiny zinnias. I think these are the Thumbelina variety. I've got them in so many colors and definitely saving seeds. So this green stalk, I've got all kinds of interesting things going on here. This plant, I don't even know what it is. I think it is some kind of legume. It might be fenugreek, but I'm letting it grow because it's pretty and it seems to want to grow and I want to know what it is. I'm curious. Lots of marigolds and parsley. This is actually the first year for it, and parsley generally sends out flower shoots the second year, but many of them are going to seed. So not sure why. Maybe I'm just not harvesting them quick enough. Maybe the weather is kind of weird and it's confusing to them. Don't know. But this parsley is going to seed all over the place. And I've got coleus that I've tucked in here and there as well. Now this is one of the easiest ornamentals that you can grow. Just get a cutting and stick it in the soil and it will grow roots. It's as simple as that, I promise you. And this is longevity spinach, a very, very highly nutritious green that grows really well throughout summer, but it is frost tender. So you want to take it in during the cooler times of the year. And more Egyptian walking onions. No aphids on this. That's a good thing. Got some more of those ITACHI F1 cucumbers growing here. I'm going to grow this variety every year. It is so delicious, absolutely not bitter, and so productive. And it doesn't require any pollinators, so that's an additional bonus for this. The only disadvantage is it is an F1, so you can't save seeds. However, I usually don't save seeds for my cucurbits or my squash because they cross-pollinate so easily. So no guarantees what I'm going to get. So yeah. This will be a staple for me going forward. I can't even get in between these green stalks to show you stuff. It's just a total forest out there. But moving on to my third green stalk, this is Thai basil. And at this time of year, it really goes to flower pretty aggressively. And I just love the look of it. And the pollinators absolutely love basil that has gone to flower. So yeah, don't forget to leave some basil to go to flower for your pollinators. I've got strawberries that are starting to flower again. I've actually picked several ripe strawberries, which is kind of nice. Now, this time of year is also the time of year for aphids, for strawberries. Those black aphids are just a menace. And last year, I didn't stay on top of my game, and I just did not have a good strawberry harvest. So this year, I am really taking a lot of trouble. I've got a toothbrush that I use to brush off these things every day. And that seems to be keeping them in check. There are ants that are not helping my cause. They come here and they help these aphids out in many, many ways. So it's kind of a symbiotic relationship because the aphids produce the honeydew for the ants. So I have to get rid of the ants if I want to keep the aphids in check. They just thrive too well together and I just can't keep up with it. So yeah, I'm going to do some borax treatment for that shortly. Petunias. I need to remind myself to grow more petunias in my green stock because they just look so gorgeous and I only grew this one plant. Moving down this green stock, here's another favorite of mine. This is the Fairytale eggplant. Look how adorable that is. Not very big and so yeah, not going to make much of a meal, but it's producing quite a bit of eggplants for this small little plant and I just love the look of it. It's so cute. This is bacopa. This is a medicinal herb. I haven't used it yet, but I love the way that it cascades down the green stalk, and I like growing some of those because it just makes the planter look so pretty. This here is a black pearl pepper, and you can see why it's called black pearl. That's another spicy little pepper that I grow for ornamental reasons because it breaks up the color in the green stalk. It looks really nice. Moving on to this next green stalk, the thing that's growing most aggressively in this green stalk is my beans, my pole beans. And I think green stalk is going to be coming up with some kind of trellising method that will allow you to grow vertically. But for now, I am just using a couple of bamboo poles that I've connected with some irrigation tubing. So I've got a video where I've shared a lot of tips and tricks on how I've added little appendages to this green stalk, so I'll put a link to that at the end of this video. And here's another example of something that I actually chopped down at the beginning of the year. This is a brassica. I think it's some kind of broccoli that I planted last year, and I just chopped it down to the bottom and it regrew again and it's giving me lots of lovely leaves. I just noticed I've got aphid issues over here, so gonna have to stay on top of the aphids because they are coming in all colors and dimensions and shapes and sizes at this time of year. Okay, let's crawl through and go to the back here. I found a little open gap. Gosh, this thing's all over the place. Here's a cantaloupe. Now, I don't even remember planting a cantaloupe seedling. Obviously I did because I'm growing one. Maybe it came from the compost, I don't know. But I use these clamshell plastic containers because I have rodent issues and they come and they nibble everything. And in fact, I lost a huge squash the other day that was ready for harvesting. It was a scallop squash. I was so disappointed. But yeah, this is how I protect, especially the lower levels of the green stalk. Rodents still tend to get to them. While we're here, let's take a look at the last green stalk. This is my newest green stalk, and it's actually a 5-tier, but what I usually do with my 5-tier originals is I replace the top tiers with a couple of leaf tiers because I feel that that makes the size more manageable. I find that the 5 tiers are just too tall, and I have knocked down more than I care to recall at this point. Like I told you, I've got strawberries coming. You can see one right there. They're pretty. And while we're here, here's another plant that I wanted to show you. This is called a Cardinal Climber. It's a very fast growing vine that produces these beautiful little flowers that the hummingbirds absolutely adore. So this is one of the top plants that you can grow for hummingbirds, and it's really fast growing. It's an annual, grows only during the warm weather, but it grows really fast during the warm weather. So I highly recommend that you grow it, especially for bringing in the hummingbirds. Okay, I crawled out of there because I wanted to show you the entire planter. As you can see again in this one, I've got, I think this is either a cucumber or a mini pumpkin, I'm not sure, but I'm growing it up because if I try to grow these things and let them sprawl around, yeah, the rodents will get all the fruit that they produce. So I like to grow my stuff vertically. And I wanted to also show you, speaking of growing vertically, this tomato plant. Now this is coming out of the 2nd tier of this green stalk. It's an indeterminate tomato, and you can see it has climbed and climbed and climbed and climbed and gone here and climbed some more, and it is way over the top of the green stalk here. So while I don't advise growing indeterminate tomatoes in a green stalk for that reason, they just grow really, really tall, you can grow them and you can do this sort of vertical trellis thing and you can attach it to them and grow it that way. Make sure that you single stem them or have no more than 2 leaders and manage them that way. But yeah, it is possible to grow indeterminate tomatoes in a green stalk. We'll just do a quick swing around and show you what's going on in my greenhouse. For those of you that are new to the channel, I have this greenhouse since November of last year. I really, really love it. I do live in Northern California, so frankly, it is a little bit of a luxury item because I don't need it as much as those who live in colder climates and might want to extend their season. But I do use it during the winter. I used it to protect some of my cold sensitive plants like my dragon fruit and my curry leaf plant, and I also used it to start my seedlings. But during summer, I'll show you what I'm using it for. Yep, I am using it more as a succulent type of garden. Now, I will tell you that the succulents do enjoy growing in this because the weather for me during summer is extremely hot and dry, and these plants just struggle in the heat. So succulents do like growing in this, but I don't think it's the most effective use for a greenhouse. You can use it for storage. It is definitely a luxury item, like I said, for me. And I'm using it also to dry out some of my flowers. Now I will put a link at the end of this video to all the other videos that I've done on the greenhouse. I've got a playlist for that. And I've also got a playlist for my green stalks. So I'll put a link to that as well in case you're interested. I hope you enjoyed this end of summer tour of my greenhouse and my green stalks. And until next time, folks, live green and love your greens.